The whole project is expected to carry a steep price tag of about $40 billion, and it hasn't come without controversies. For one thing, it would require the eviction of many nearby residents and the seizing of private lands along the coast, something that many locals depend upon for their livelihoods. Further, there are fears that if the wall were to ever fail because of something like a terrorist attack or some unforeseen black swan event, that the subsequent flooding would be catastrophic and probably end up destroying the city anyway in the future when sea levels are higher. This all means that the wall will end up being a critical security weak point that Indonesia would have to defend at all costs. And then there are many environmental concerns about building the wall to just heap on top of everything else. So with all of these negative factors going against Jakarta, and the obvious need to alleviate the growing population pressure and weight on the sinking city, the current leader of Indonesia, President Joko Widodo, made a bold announcement in 2019 to move the capital city away from Jakarta for the first time. And while the specifics of the exact location and plan are still in the stages of being figured out, things are moving pretty quickly. For one, we know that the general area of the new capital will be nearly 1,000 kilometers away from the current-day Jakarta, over on the island of Borneo, which happens to be the third largest island in the world, and it means that Indonesia's capital will be on an island shared with two other countries in the north, Malaysia and Brunei. Borneo is largely covered by rainforest and is sparsely populated, but it possesses several advantageous features for Indonesia's new capital city. First, the Indonesian government itself already owns a large part of the land over on their side of the border, making it easy to build a brand new planned capital city. Compared with Jakarta, the risk of disasters here are rather minimal, whether it be from floods, earthquakes, tsunamis, or especially from volcanoes. Indonesia's geography is dominated by volcanoes, and many of their eruptions in the past across the archipelago have been some of the most destructive disasters in all of human history. The top two most powerful volcanic eruptions ever in recorded human history both took place in Indonesia, at Krakatoa in 1883 and at Mount Tambora in 1815, both of which caused enormous destruction. 74,000 years ago, the Toba supervolcano erupted on Sumatra and was so destructive that it caused a 6-year-long global volcanic winter and may have almost led to the early extinction of the entire human species. Today, there are at least 127 active volcanoes across the country, and more than 5 million Indonesians live within their danger zones. But if you notice on this map, there aren't any major active volcanoes on Borneo, which, from a risk perspective, makes it far safer for the country's brain to be located there than on either Java or Sumatra. And finally, Borneo is geographically located nearly precisely in the center of the entire Indonesian archipelago, and there are several developing city areas nearby the proposed location that stand to grow immensely over time. In total, Indonesia hopes to create a new capital territory on Borneo that will cover nearly 700 square miles, slightly larger than the City of London's area and more than twice the size of present-day Jakarta. It is also President Widodo's hope that, eventually, this new capital will be home to 1.4 million government employees and their families, potentially reaching upwards of a population of 7 million people all in all. With several futuristic designs already picked out for the more important government buildings like the Presidential Palace and more, all that's left is to fund the effort and begin construction. The total estimated price tag for building the new capital here is around $34 billion. But with extensive delays in the project stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic, budget cuts and other mounting pressures, President Widodo certainly has his work cut out for him over the next several years, as he oversees the remainder of his second term as president. Since he hopes to begin moving at least some government offices over to Borneo in 2024, he only has 2 short years remaining to accomplish it while he's still in office. And as for Jakarta, even though the city is definitely facing some pretty serious hurdles over the coming decades, Widodo's hope is that encouraging millions of people to leave the city for the new capital over on Borneo will be enough to relieve at least some of the pressure and allow Jakarta precious time to recover and thrive once again.